That's what's at stake here. ABC, CBS, NBC. Once in a while, something sneaks out. There are brave men and women inside those organizations. They know what's going on. They're not all stupid. They're not all sold down the river. They're not all on drugs. Many of them try to get these stories out. And sometimes they succeed, sometimes they don't. This morning I woke up. Fox News had a story, Tangled Clinton Web. Firms tied to Clinton's profited in post-Quake Haiti. You hear this? There's not a crisis on the planet where they didn't make money. Do you understand this? So when you see Hillary Clinton pushing amnesty for illegals, you can guarantee that hundreds of millions of dollars are going to flow into her hands, or the husband's hands, or the foundation. You get it? New York Post editorial board. The Clinton Foundation is Bill and Hillary's New York-style racket. Emphasis on the word racket. Thursday was a banner day in the unfolding scandal of the Clinton Foundation. We learned that a Russian government-controlled company has taken control of 1/5 of all uranium-producing capacity in the United States by acquiring a Canadian firm whose chairman, Frank Giuistra, has pledged over $130 million to Bill Clinton's foundation. You're telling me there's nothing there and not worthy of investigation? And that Clinton also got $500,000 in speaking fees from a Russian bank that had been promoting the Canadian firm's stock? And Hillary Clinton's State Department signed off on the acquisition, which has deep national security implications? And that Frank Giuistra also reaped huge profits when Hillary reversed her earlier clear and firm opposition to a trade deal with Colombia? And her ex-president husband, meanwhile, actively promoted the agreement the same month. He accepted $800,000 for speeches delivered after flying on Giuistra's private jet to a pro-agreement group in Colombia? What about Senator Menendez? He was busted for chicken feed compared to this. They went after Menendez for flying on a donor's jet, didn't they? Well, here's Bill Clinton doing it. I mean, what Menendez did or didn't do is tiddlywinks compared to this. Where is the outcry? I'll be back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Your Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust for tangible assets, gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN. Extra, hear all about it. Greatest scandal in modern American history covered up by the newspapers. Clinton corruption reaching the level of sedition, is it? New York Times says cash flowed to the Clinton Foundation and Bill Clinton himself as Russians pressed for control of the uranium company that now controls 1/5 of the United States uranium ore sold to Russia. Not a peep from the Republicans other than the useless John Boehner, a man who has done more damage to the American body politic than Osama bin Laden did, by saying today, not that we're going to look into this, but that the Clintons are good people. I saw an article in the British Telegraph this morning that an evil twin was found in a student's brain. Using radical neurological surgery, the doctors found an embryonic twin in the brain of this individual, this woman from India. She couldn't concentrate. She couldn't read. She had trouble figuring things out. Well, they went into the brain and they found that there was an evil twin inside, a teratoma, a rare unborn twin inside of her brain. I just ask myself, is this the disease that has infected Washington? Have all of them been infected with an evil twin inside their brain? One that hates the nation? Think about it.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
There are those who offer themselves as leaders who take a very different view, who offer themselves as leaders who see nothing wrong with denying women equal pay, who offer themselves as leaders who would defund the country's leading provider of family planning and want to let health insurance companies once again charge women just because of our gender. There are those who offer themselves as leaders who would deport mothers working to give their children a better life rather than risk the ire of talk radio.
Imelda Marcos would be preferred to Hillary Clinton. Imelda Marcos, I'd rather vote for Imelda Marcos than this woman. Okay, so the day after the uranium scandal blows up in their faces, she's lecturing about women and denying women equal pay and contraception, unequal pay to women, sexual assault and military illegals should get amnesty. The same old lie, the big lie that got her where she is and that lets the money flow into the Clinton Foundation. She keeps it going. My producers found a little article on the uranium scandal that none of you heard today on talk radio. Nobody found it. The Rush cartel missed it, despite their vast staff. The Fox cartel missed it. I can guarantee you, no matter what Brett Baer does, when he does his big thing tonight on the uranium thing, he won't have what I'm about to give you. Has he been on yet or not? He's coming up next hour. Here it is. I shouldn't do it. Maybe I should wait till he's off the air. Do it in my third hour. If I do it now, it'll be on the Fox News show. No, if I give it out to you now, then Brett Baer will have it on his show. Ailes will make sure he gets it. They may even get, because look, they can't have Savage beat them to the punch. I don't exist. All right. This came out in the year 06. It was appearing in the Durango, Colorado newspaper, called the Durango Telegraph. You're not going to believe the title, How Russians Got Our Uranium. No one in talk radio has found this other than my crack producer, Jim Verde. And here's the article. The Russians are coming to the Southwest and plan to take much of the region's uranium home with them. The Russian government, which recently purchased the mining company Uranium One, has big designs on uranium reserves in Utah's Canyon Country and has opened an office in Durango. Watchdogs are concerned that the U.S. is effectively giving away resources to foreign companies and that locally mined and milled yellow cake will soon find its way to Iran. Last week, Atom Dradomozolo, I can't pronounce it, ARMZ, a mining conglomerate owned by the Russian government, completed the purchase of Uranium One, a Canadian company. ARMZ's parent company is Rosatom, the Russian nuclear agency, and the deal went forward in spite of objections from 4 members of the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Department of Treasury inquiry. Now, remember when this was. This was in 06. 06, long before Imelda was Secretary of State. The deal gave ARMZ, operating as Uranium One, control of all of the Canadian company's international assets, which stretch from Central Asia to the central United States. Among those assets is control over more than 10,000 acres of uranium mining claims in southeast Utah, ownership of the Utah town of Tickaboo near Lake Powell, and control of the inactive Shootaring uranium mill there. The consolidation makes Uranium One the 5th largest uranium producer in the world. Shortly before the transaction, the Russian company opened the regional headquarters in Bodo Park, Utah. A few more paragraphs for those of you who are bored already and would rather talk about transgendered actors. The perspective on the ground in the Southwest does not reflect Zivov's optimism. Courtesy of a loophole in the 1872 mining law, the Russian government operating as Uranium One will be tapping the region's uranium virtually free of charge. The mining law was signed into law by President Ulysses S. Grant in order to encourage rapid settlement of the American West. The law continues to allow companies to stake and develop mining claims without paying royalties to the United States government. We've been seeing this trend for the last 10 to 15 years. Remember, this was written in 06. Explained Jeff Parsons of the Western Mining Action Project. Multinational companies have gradually been taking over mineral rights all over the West. Then they benefit greatly from our 19th century mining policy, where they essentially get the minerals for free and never have to pay a royalty. Conclusion. The case of Uranium One could be an especially difficult pill to swallow. First, the Russian government will be tapping the West's uranium free of charge and likely exporting it to Europe and Asia. Second, ARMZ has acted as the source of uranium for Iran's rogue nuclear program, meaning that yellow cake mined in Utah could find its way into reactors in Tehran. How Russians got our uranium, Durango Telegraph, 11/01/06. And you heard it first on the Savage Nation. The story came out shortly after the Clintons did a deal with Kazakhstan. Now let's go to some callers. WABC Russell, you're on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
You know, this type of stuff is taking place, and Hillary is probably going to get away with this because she's protected by the globalists. You know this? No.
All right, well, you know, statements like that are wonderful, but what do you really mean? Who are the globalists? Who are they?
The globalists, the same people that meet at the Bilderberger Group.
All right, please, see, this is the kind of like half-witted Russell, thank you. You're listening too long to the Rush Cartel. I mean, they've gotten people like you into using, you know, code words, globalists, Bilderberg. It all sounds intelligent. You know, for a long while, the key word was Alinsky. Many of you didn't know Alinsky from a bagel. But then you thought you were intellectual giants because you learned about Saul Alinsky. And for 3 years, talk radio was buzzing with Alinsky. Obama learned from Alinsky. Now it's globalists and, oh, come on already. Here's the thing about talk radio that's so tiring. I'm trying to tell my call screener, unless the caller asks a question that's really insightful that will advance the conversation or add something to the conversation, please don't put them up. But please don't give me the Limbaugh cartel leftovers. You understand? So we'll try another one, and I'll see if I'm going to get mad at my callers now. Don't be intimidated. You can still call the show. And, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Boys and girls, I promised to give out free copies of my forthcoming great novel, Countdown to Mecca, to all the callers. I didn't give one out. I'm really wiped out today. I'm exhausted. It's been a long week. It's Friday. You know it's Friday, right? I'm away from my normal location. We had technical problems Tuesday and Wednesday that almost gave me a heart attack. Thursday was good. So far, knock wood, excellent today. No problems with Comcast knocking my system down. And while I left the West Coast because my allergies were killing me and came to the East Coast, now the allergies are kicking in again because it got hot here and all the flowers are in bloom. So it seems I'm constantly running away from pollen. I probably have some kind of either Lapland blood or Eskimo blood. I belong on an ice floe somewhere. If only there was a nice village with a floating radio station. Maybe the Antarctic. Maybe I could move to Vostok in the Antarctic and look at the Vostok ice core evidence while I'm there and do a radio show from there. I wonder if the scientists on the Antarctic ice floe, or on Antarctica, which is a continent, of course, suffer allergies. I don't know. There's no plant life that I can speak of. Again, I'm looking at the president. He's the amazing shrinking man, and we looked into this, and people are speculating that Obama is shrinking away in size because he's been experimenting with Michelle Obama's school lunches for well over 3 months now. And there's only so much caloric content in a fork, a knife, a glass of water, and a string bean. We hope the president recovers from the diet he's on because either he and Al Sharpton are sharing the same dietitian or something's wrong with the picture. I don't know what it is. 855. Now, isn't it interesting that Obama apologized about the drone strikes on the same day that the uranium scandal broke? Isn't it kind of odd because the man never apologizes? Did anyone say that yet on the Rush Cartel? Did you hear that yet from the parrots? No, I don't think so. The very same day that it came out that this country sold us down the river and sold our uranium to Russia under Obama's watch, Hillary's watch, Bill's watch, all of a sudden Obama's Mr. Humble and he apologizes for drone strikes that accidentally killed civilians. You don't put two and two together, huh? Well, okay, that's my job. I understand that. That's our job. That is our job. I need some music right now. No break. I need to pump myself up. What music do I want to hear? Play anything from the Rolling Stones for me right now because tomorrow's going to be another long day, a 6-hour flight. All right, turn it off. It's not doing anything for me. Garbage. It's like looking at a story about Bruce Jenner. It has about the same meaning. It's 4 hours and 45 minutes going west to east, 5 hours and 45 minutes going east to west. And there are no big planes going from where I am to the West Coast. It's the nightmare of the 757. At least coming here, I was on a 767 with television. I could watch movies